Don't worry, you haven't clicked on Archie Hamilton by accident. That title is not clickbait. No, really, honestly, stay with me and I'll explain. Hello you lot, Miller Corner here, welcome back once again and welcome to the latest episode of Living with a Modern Car. Like that's not a totally normal thing that 99% of people who don't care about cars actually do. It's been a few weeks now since I unveiled this 2012 Fiat Punto TwinAir, both as my new daily driver and an experiment to find out if I live with a relatively modern new car, which I do criticise quite a lot on this channel, could I actually learn to love one? I've been using it for a few weeks day to day now. I've learned a few things about it, some of the things I like, some of the things I don't like, and obviously living with a car day to day, you do learn some quirks and features. I've actually learned a few things about the Punto that I didn't even know when I bought it. So today we're going to go over that. Some of the things I've learned about this car, some of the things it does and doesn't do, some of the features it's got that I didn't even actually know about the car until I lived with it, learned about them, and of course you told me about them. When we got the car up on the ramp when I first bought it to get the wheels off and put some new tyres on, the exhaust is interesting to say the least. Most cars will have the manifold that comes down, the catalytic converter, they might have a mid-silencer, and then of course the big back box at the back, unless of course they drive a Corsa, in which case they probably deleted it. In this case, it didn't appear to have one. When you look around the back of the car, there's just a bit of pipe leading up to the rear bumper. I assume therefore the car had been straight piped, but it couldn't be, it's nowhere near loud enough. It actually turns out that is the stock exhaust. The silencer, because of the shape of the floor pan and where it has to kind of curve around it, is actually near the front of the car. The silencer is around about a third of the way back on the chassis. From that mid-silencer backward, about halfway down the car, the entire exhaust is just mandrel bend pipe that only curves around the chassis when it needs to. That does also mean, of course, that if I want to in the future, this car will be very easy to straight pipe. Not that I would ever think of doing that. Next up is the rear wiper. Doesn't look unusual, does it? Just sort of wipes the rear window. But actually, it's quite cool in a way. With this car, I've got the normal setting of one single setting for occasional rear wipe, and of course 3 different settings for how fast I want the front wipers to go. I later found out when I was driving home in the rain and I wanted to park this, that if you've got the front wipers on, even if you don't have the rear wiper on, and you then put the car in reverse, it puts the rear wiper on for you. The idea being, of course, that you'll clean the rear window so you can see where you're going when you're reversing into a parking space. It's a kind of cool feature and not something I've ever seen before. Check it out. How cool is that? Two of the other quirks of this car are inside. First up is this, the mystery button that I kept pressing in the reveal video, hoping it would magically reveal something, like it would do something in this bin, or it would eject something, or it'd turn on some cool disco light. Turns out I'm an idiot. But then again, if you've been to this channel before, you already knew that. This isn't even actually a button, which is probably one of the reasons why it presses in so deep. It is in fact a mount, because as part of Fiat's Blue and Me system designed to work with sat-navs, you can actually put a mount in here. It kind of slides all the way in and clips right in the bottom there. You can then use it with a little grip here to hold a sat-nav or a phone. That's why it's so deep, and that's why it quite obviously doesn't do anything. In my defense, that diagram is crap. It doesn't even hint at what it's supposed to do, and you can kind of understand why I thought it was for ejecting a bin or something. Now I know what it does, I'm still not going to use it because I've got an awesome sat-nav, but it's cool to know the car's got it. Next up is the radio, and I do apologise once again for the fact I'm not in frame. There is actually a cool feature on the radio itself. Annoyingly though, I can't demonstrate it while I'm stationary. It's actually a feature called speed volume, as I found in the menu. What it does is basically, as you gradually drive faster, the stereo, whilst it doesn't change the volume, it ups how loud the music is, or whatever you're listening to. What that means is, obviously as you go faster, there's more road noise, more wind noise, all that that kind of stuff, and the stereo will make itself that little bit louder as you go up every 5 or 10 miles an hour, because of course the louder you go, the more noise there is, and it means you don't have to touch the radio, it just turns itself up, and that is actually brilliant. That's a really, really well thought out, really nice, useful feature that won't distract you when you're driving. However, if you commute in an area where you go from 30 miles an hour up to 40 very briefly, down to 30, back up to 40, down to 30, and then stay at 30 like I do on my day-to-day commute, it's irritating, because between 30 and 40 miles an hour, this is a modern car, it's well insulated, there's not going to be that much sound difference between 30 and 40 miles an hour. There is of course some difference, but this is a modern car, it's well insulated, there's not going to be that much sound difference, and what that means is 30 miles an hour, window down, music on, all well and good, but if you stray up to 40 with the window down, it becomes downright offensive. I have since turned this off because, as I say, it's not as good as it thinks it is. It doesn't realise quite how refined this car is. It doesn't make that much difference at different speeds. To be perfectly honest with you, I did an experiment keeping the volume exactly the same for the same track at 30 miles an hour right the way up to 70. At 70, I could still hear it. It was still loud and clear, it was still perfect, I could still recognise all the lyrics, which means as cool of a feature as it sounds on paper, it's largely useless when the stereo in this car is so damn good with all the awesome quality speakers, there's plenty of bass. That is a cool feature, not really needed in a car like this, but if I could get that in the Super Seicento, I'll be all over it. Yet another feature of this car around the rear end, and this time it's the tailgate. I pointed out in the reveal video for this car that I found it a little bit odd that this one boot badge didn't match any of the newer style ones on the rest of the car. It turns out, as a number of you pointed out in the comments section, it obviously had a tailgate along with an earlier pre-facelift rear bumper at some point. The facelifted Punto, this shape that came along in 2009, is known as the Punto Evo, and this is from a pre-facelift Grand Punto, hence it doesn't look quite right with the shape of the rest of the car, and of course the badge doesn't match. On the later Punto Evos, this is the later badge, and the Punto badge is quite a lot bigger than this one, and it's right in the middle, and of course the badge itself lifts up for you to pop the tailgate to then get it open. As it is, I have to pop it using the key and then awkwardly reach around the side to grab it up, because of course, if you didn't notice, there is no actual handle on this. It doesn't look quite right now that I've seen what the rear end of this car should actually look like. So with that in mind, I'm in the market for a new one. So if anyone's got a 2009 onwards Punto Evo tailgate, preferably in red, Southeast UK, willing to deliver, yeah, slide in the DMs. So there are some quirks and features that actually even I didn't know about my Fiat Punto TwinAir. As I live with this car on a day-to-day basis, I am learning more and more about it. Things I like, things I don't like, and reasons for and against having a car like this as your daily. And these cool little things make it just that little bit more interesting. Having been using this car day-to-day for a few weeks now, I've been getting a few questions about it. How's it been as a daily? Honestly, yeah, actually really good, comfortable, easy to drive, and generally very, very reliable. Has it belched any smoke out the back? Well, being that it's not a Volkswagen, no. Has it broken down, failed to start? Has the boost blown a head gasket or anything else like that? Well, being that it's not a Ford, no. And has it fallen to pieces? Being that it's not a Vauxhall, no. Have we annoyed everyone? Yeah, I feel like we've annoyed everyone now, haven't we? Anyway, stay tuned for more episodes where I learn more about living with a modern car, and I'll catch you very soon, everybody. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.